We begin tonight with new legal action against the state of Arizona. A precursor to a lawsuit has been filed against the state after a Department of Child Safety employee was violently attacked during a Facebook live stream. Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Kadiba Devine.
I'm Mark Curtis. 12 News journalist Bianca Bono first broke this story back in November when the attack first happened. Tonight, she has new developments with one of the witnesses now planning to file a lawsuit.
The woman at the center of this notice of claim works in the building where this violent attack happened. She says she saw the suspect choke the DCS employee unconscious. She called 911 and says she has mental and emotional injuries as a result. This horrifying attack in November of last year was streamed live on social media. Police say the man choking another man unconscious is DeAndre Terrell Johnson, who had an open case with Arizona's Department of Child Safety involving his children. The man he's attacking is a DCS caseworker. As the attack goes on for multiple minutes, building employees are heard in the background.
You was a dandy.
One of them is now filing a $100,000 notice of claim against the state of Arizona.
She was the 911 caller and she was outside just minding her own business, taking a break from her job, and saw this incident occurring.
Attorney Allison Briggs is talking about her client named in the notice of claim, who was not a DCS employee but worked in the same Mesa building as the DCS office. Briggs is also a licensed social worker who previously worked for DCS.
I left for a variety of reasons, but one of the biggest things that I don't think DCS addresses is worker safety.
Last year, citing budget cuts, DCS removed security guards from buildings. It's part of the reason Briggs agreed to take this case.
But for the actions or inaction of the Department of Child Safety in securing their own employees and office, my client would not have suffered the harm that she did.
Johnson has been indicted for attempted first-degree murder, and due to the traumatic nature of the crime, Briggs says her client has sustained mental and emotional injuries that have impacted her professionally and personally, requiring continued treatment.
She certainly doesn't feel right now like she'll be able to go back to the place that it happened, and frankly, for her safety, I don't think she should.
The claim says the woman's injuries are a result of the negligence of the state of Arizona and the employees of the Department of Child Safety.
The negligence that we see is a failure to just provide reasonable safety and security.
In response to the claim, the Attorney General's office has declined to comment. DCS also said they couldn't comment on pending litigation, only saying the unprovoked assault occurred in a public lobby where building security was present.
How are you going to reform a system when you can't even keep people safe that are trying to do the job?
Briggs says she has not yet received a response to this notice of claim. She says she believes she'll receive a denial, at which point she plans to file a lawsuit. Bianca Bono, 12 News.
All right, Bianca, thank you. New tonight, all inner canyon corridor trails at the Grand Canyon have been closed due to a chlorine gas leak at the Roaring Springs area. The closure affects both day and night hikers. Officials with the National Park Service are asking hikers to avoid the trails for their safety and also to check for updates on trail status before planning your visit. You can find more information right now by going to 12news.com.
A bus crash in the West Valley sent multiple kids to the hospital today. Buckeye police tell us about 8 kids from the Buckeye Learning Center were on the bus when it collided with a pickup truck. 3 of the students and the bus driver were taken to the hospital, but all of them are expected to make a full recovery. Neighbors who live right next to this intersection at Rainbow Road and Sundance Parkway tell us they see accidents there all the time, and stop signs were just added a few months ago, but they still don't think that it's made much of a difference.
You'd hear the tire squeals and then boom, you'd hear the loud bang from the car sliding and 2 cars colliding into each other. I mean, like I said, it's an everyday thing, like a routine.
It's one of those situations where, I don't want another bus getting hit and, God forbid, it's fatal.
So far, police haven't said who's at fault or if one of the drivers ran a stop sign.
New tonight, a student at Arizona State University who survived a knife attack by a classmate was honored during a fundraiser in Goodyear. Mara Daffron is a sophomore pursuing a sports business degree from ASU. She had just walked into her last class of the day on September 19th when another student reportedly lunged at her with a knife. She's made a full recovery, and tonight she spoke to a crowd at the Helping One Woman fundraiser about the outpouring of support that she's received.
I do feel like I've learned a lot from this progress, so I feel really like that I could be like an inspiration to others, and like I feel like a lot of women could still learn from what I've gone through, like mentally and all that, so it's definitely very special.
Daffron is continuing her degree online this semester. She is hoping to return, though, to campus next fall.
Well, now from the 12 News I-Team. Dating apps remain one of the most popular ways to meet someone, with millions of people swiping for love each year. But not everyone finds a fairy tale ending.
The I-Team's Erica Stapleton uncovered a major transparency issue when it comes to violence and dating apps.
Safety isn't always a guarantee. And sometimes people are drawn here. East Valley Krav Maga self-defense in Tempe, after something bad has already happened.
Have you ever had someone come in after they've had a bad experience on a date or a dating app?
Unfortunately, yes. We've got a lot of that kind of stuff that comes in.
Keith Larkin and Michelle Harrison are both lead instructors of Krav Maga.
You're just seeing a lot more chance being taken with meeting people online. It's kind of Russian roulette in a way.
To be clear, there are risks to meeting people without dating apps too. And not all people who use dating apps will have a violent encounter. But the reality is, we have no idea how often people report violence or abuse by a person they met online, because no one is really tracking it, at least not publicly.
And safety is a huge issue.
In February 2020, U.S. Representative Jan Schakowsky of Illinois and her colleagues on the House Energy and Commerce Committee sent a letter to Match Group expressing concerns about safety on dating apps.
The companies themselves have to take some responsibility.
Match Group isn't the only dating app company out there, but it is one of the biggest in the world, owning many popular apps like Tinder, OkCupid, and Hinge. The various apps have options to report violence or inappropriate behavior right in the app, and the lawmakers specifically asked, how many sexual violence complaints did Match Group and its apps receive?
We don't know the numbers.
The 12 News I-Team obtained a copy of Match Group's June 2020 response letter, which indicated that Match Group worked with law enforcement on 200 assault cases in 2019. But the company did not specify how many people submitted complaints to them or through their apps.
They didn't send us any real data. How many people actually are experiencing sexual assault or danger online?
Researchers in Australia are trying to find that answer.
That lack of visibility really is what drove us.
In 2022, Dr. Christopher Dowling and his team with the Australian Institute of Criminology found that nearly a third of people they surveyed reported violence at an in-person meeting after matching online.
Yes, it did certainly take us by surprise. I think delving down into those findings as well revealed some more disturbing results regarding the increased risk that women, but especially LGBT plus women, were out of this violence. Younger users and users with a disability have also been shown to be at increased risk of this violence.
ProPublica published a similar stat in 2019, finding that 31% of women surveyed reported being sexually assaulted or raped by someone they had met through an online dating site. And at the end of 2024, the I-Team conducted our own informal survey, where about a quarter of our 80 respondents reported a violent encounter with someone they met on a dating app.
There certainly is a responsibility on the owners of these apps and platforms to ensure the safety of their users. I also think it's in the interests of these apps and platforms that users feel safe while using them.
The I-Team started looking into this while reporting on Helen Simmons, who alleged she was abused and forced into participating in a violent armed robbery by a guy she initially met on Tinder.
He made me tell me he was gonna kill me. I was so scared. I thought I was gonna get shot.
Helen is now in prison for that crime. When Helen said she first met Matthew Jones, records show he had just gotten out of prison for aggravated assault and imprisonment involving another woman he met online. Jones wasn't charged based on Helen's allegations, but he was charged and convicted in the robbery case and is also serving prison time. In response to this reporting, a rep for Tinder said they had no record of Simmons or Jones meeting on the app. Over email, A spokesperson for Match Group detailed the company's efforts to address safety on their apps, like using AI to detect harmful messaging or bad actors, and a new partnership with background check company BrightCheck. The company did not provide us with any data either on how often people are reporting abuse on the apps, but the spokesperson said they recognize that making data available is an important step to raise the awareness of sexual assault and concerning behaviors.
Sparsity of information is a hallmark of danger that consumers are facing right now.
In 2023, Representative Jan Schakowsky and her colleagues sent another letter to Match Group saying they remain concerned about potential harms these platforms enable, including sexual violence. She plans to introduce legislation this session to address some of these concerns. Back at East Valley Krav Maga Self-Defense.
It is about trusting your gut. It's about knowing what your boundaries are. I think it's really, really important, especially as a woman, to give yourself permission to leave if you are uncomfortable.
Training body and mind.
I sharply rotate to create leverage on his grip.
Just try to simulate as real world as possible.
Okay, go for it, guys.
You don't get to pick the time and place if you're ever going to be attacked. But what happens afterwards is going to be up to you, and we want you to be ready for anything that could potentially happen.
Yeah, good reset.
Taking safety into their own hands, even if no one else can guarantee it. Erica Stapleton, 12 News.
All right, Erica, thank you for that. And to see the rest of the I-Team's investigation into dating apps and violence and background checks, you can head over to the 12 Plus app on your Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku.